Dear God, as we gather here today, we pray that we are ever mindful of the opportunities to render our service to fellow citizens and to our community. Keeping in mind always the enduring values of life, exerting our efforts in those areas and on those things upon which future generations can build with confidence. Let us continue to strive to make a better world. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Board members, this is going to be Mr. Hammond's last regular meeting, and for us, but this happens to be Deborah Hammond's first meeting attending, and so, I would like for us to, stand up and give her a round of applause for lending him all these years to us. Mr. Hammond, do we have any additions, deletions to the agenda?
Mr. Chair, I would just like to make you aware of some amendments to item 9A1 to the rules of governance. We passed out replacement pages 12 and 34. Also, I'd just like to remind you that and confirm the new meeting date of Tuesday, November 20th, 2018, which is going to be a special meeting downtown for your selection of officers as the Solid Waste Authority. And that's at a time certain. I believe it's 11:15.
Thank you. Item 3, minutes of the August 29, 2018 regular meeting. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes? We have a motion by Commissioner Berger, second by Vice Chair Kerner. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Item 4, minutes. Citizens Advisory Committee. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes?
File, Mr. Chairman. Move to receive and file the minutes.
Oh. All right, we have a motion to receive and file by Commissioner Abrams, seconded by Commissioner Burdick. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. We have the consent agenda. Any commissioners wishes to remove any items for the consent agenda?
No, Mr. Chairman, but we need to vote on whether to approve the agenda. Second.
Thank you. We have a motion to approve the agenda by Mayor McKinley, seconded by Vice Chair Kerner.
As amended?
As amended.
Yes.
Thank you. All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. All right, consent agenda. Any commissioner wishes to remove any items from the consent agenda? We have a motion to approve the consent agenda by Vice Chair Kerner, seconded by Commissioner Berger. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously 7-0. Matters by the public. We don't have any cards. Next item is item 8A1.
Good morning. Item 8 is to request board direction for the use of the authority property on Venomous Farms Road for the purpose of an equestrian facility by a private entity. Just to give you some background on this thing, the Western communities generate about anywhere between 200,000 and 300,000 tons of equestrian waste every year. And last year, fiscal year, we got 21,000 tons to REF2, just about 10%. So the site under consideration now, it should be up on your screen anytime soon. Okay, if you see that, it's just north of Southern and on the east side of Venomous Farms. And the two circles you see, the inner circle is a quarter-mile radius, and the outside circle is a half a mile. Turnpike to the east, and the nearest residential communities to the north and south are about half a mile. A bigger scale map here, the parcel that we're considering here is the smallest piece on the bottom left corner here, 5.3 acres. That's currently leased to Palm Beach County Road and Bridge. And immediately to the east is the 27-acre parcel that the board approved to lease it to D.S. Eakins. And the northernmost parcel that you see is the former Cross State landfill. And we're going to use that for a debris management site in case we need that. So the smallest piece is 5.3 acres. Several entities, private entities, have contacted us within the last year to locate a facility, in that parcel. And we're seeking board direction. I'm also give you some background on, the adjacent properties and the history of this cross-state site. This goes back 8 decades. Disposal started here in 1938, unregulated. And so it was owned by, this parcel was owned by Town of Palm Beach. And that was between 38 and 1954. And then the county owned the parcel from 1954 to 1983. And at that time, the authority acquired this property. And we've contacted DEP at that time and came up with a monitoring plan. And it was monitored for more than 20 years, between 1983 and until 2010. So at that point in time, DEP approved discontinuing the monitoring program. And since that time, we haven't done anything because there were no concerns there on that site. So at this point in time, we've contacted Palm Beach County Fire Rescue, and they don't have any objections to locating this facility next door. And obviously, they would like to see all the site plans and everything as a routine approval process. And we have also contacted Palm Beach County Road and Bridge, and they have somewhat of a concern because they lost another property down south, which they use for fill material processing and stockpiling. And so they've been moving all the material from South County to this location here. But it could be overcome. We could find them a new spot on top of a landfill. So it's not a big challenge, but we need to give them a year's notice if this moves forward. So at this point, we're seeking board direction, how to proceed.
Thank you. Do we have any questions of staff?
No questions.
Mayor McKinley, you recognized?
Mr. Chairman, I don't have any questions, just comments.
Okay. Do you want us to do the questions first?
Sure.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Abrams, you recognize?
Thank you. I noticed that when the Citizens Advisory Committee took it up, there was some dissent, 5-2 vote on their recommendation. What was the nature of their discussion?
Primarily, they were looking at the proximity to residential areas, both to the north and south. It was right at the half-mile radius, and that was it. And odor concerns.
Pardon me?
Odor. It's horse manure, so odor was the main concern there. So.
Commissioner Burdick, you recognize?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The site that in the purple is a temporary debris management. So this is one of the sites, is this correct, that one of the sites in Palm Beach County that when we have a major storm or hurricane that collects vegetative waste?
That is correct. We have many other sites, but if we need to activate
one of the
this site,
sites.
yes, it's one of the sites.
And is it correct in restating what I think I've heard Mr. Hammond say? It's one of the reasons why Palm Beach County has a number of vegetative waste haulers who are willing to sign contracts with Palm Beach County and fulfill their contracts is because we have multiple sites in Palm Beach County so that they can, because they are paid by the truckload. So it's, if they have a number of sites where they only have to drive a couple of miles to deliver that truckload, that's how they get reimbursed. Is that correct?
That is correct. And just a point of clarification here, if we move this parcel or Palm Beach County Road and Bridge operation to the footprint of the landfill,
Right.
So it takes away that much space, that's 17 plus acres, so this is 5 acres, so they would only have 12 acres for debris management.
So then we would only have 12 acres, so we would, a net loss. And is it also correct that the site in the North County, where we know with Jupiter Farms and the other areas in the North County area, that site that we currently use is a privately owned site that is currently on the market for sale? So that the county solid waste may potentially lose that North County site? Mr. Carra?
I'm not aware. I think it is for sale, but I haven't, I'd have to check into it in a little more detail. But certainly, as we research this more, we are looking at debris sites throughout the county and continue to do so. That might be something that, we as staff would come back to the board for consideration, possibly acquiring that site if it's for sale, because definitely it was a very popular site in the north part of the county, and got a lot of use from the acreage and the areas around it, or I should say Jupiter Farms.
Correct, it was. So if Solid Waste Authority is to go out, look at purchasing it, I could support that because it's an important site for the North County and for the rest of the county during a major weather event, to have that available to us so that the vendors will fulfill their contract, because last year we heard stories from around the state where vendors were not fulfilling their contract and people were stuck because the vendors found other more profitable areas. And that we heard that Palm Beach County was a star in the state with regards to the sites that were available in the event of a major storm. Given the fact that Road and Bridge, Palm Beach County's Road and Bridge has concerns because they've lost a site that's available, I think that we as a solid waste authority need to continue to look into the future and make sure that we don't negatively impact any of our departments. Fire Rescue said that they had, and thank you, because they hadn't been contacted until yesterday afternoon when I asked Mr. Hellman to contact them, and that they have no objections. But Fire Rescue is directly adjacent, and this facility does training, emergency training, not just for Palm Beach County, but regionally for multiple agencies, and is a revenue generator for Palm Beach County Fire Rescue. And given the fact that the Citizens Advisory Committee has, by 5-2, and previously it was a unanimous vote, said no because of the impacts to residential in the area, and they haven't been informed of this as of yet. And given the fact that even the ag community, when there was a zoning matter before the Palm Beach County Board of County Commissioners to look at equestrian waste out in the agricultural area in the Glades area west of 20 Mile Bend, the industry had severe concerns with having this type of equestrian waste out in an area where there are no residents, but there is agriculture, there is food production going on out there, and Publix and other grocers had a concern. So the commission backed away from this. While we need to find a solution to equestrian waste, because equestrian waste and the equestrian industry in Palm Beach County is an economic driver for us.
Commissioner Burdick, just let's stick to the questions.
So
and then
my
I'll come
question,
back to
thank you. My question is, since this is a problem, and it is a problem, created in the city of Wellington. Why isn't the city of Wellington, since we have sites that are already zoned for this in Wellington, why isn't this problem being at least solved in partial, and the city of Wellington coming up with the solutions? I think they need to be here at the table before we move forward with looking at impacting residents, a major business in Palm Beach County, which is fire rescue, and Palm Beach County Road and Bridge as a site.
I don't know if staff can answer that, but
I can.
Commissioner Mayor McKinley?
Well, I have a
You
question for
recognize.
staff. Is the Village of Wellington the only area that's sending you equestrian waste from time to time?
It's primarily from Wellington and Loxahatchee too. You know, there are private haulers that bring it to us.
So Wellington, Loxahatchee, Western Delray Beach, Jupiter Farms, the Acreage, and all sorts of other small pockets of rural communities, including in District 2, that have horses on their land, produce equestrian waste.
Correct.
And do we have any control over zoning in the Village of Wellington? No, I didn't think so. And then fire rescue, correct me if I'm wrong, but fire rescue told you yesterday that they don't have a problem with this use on that property?
No, they don't have any concerns. Again, this is the first steps, when whoever this entity is, the private entity that's going to put a facility there, they have to go through the routine approval process through the county. It's fire rescue, school board, and all the drainage districts, DEP. So this is just the first steps before final approvals are granted.
Correct. And then equestrian waste recycling facilities or like uses are already authorized on industrial zone properties?
Correct.
So-
It's industrial and it's a compatible use.
Correct. So really, if the Double D Ranch and Saloon Strip Club wanted to tear their building down, they could put an equestrian waste facility on there without having to come to us by right?
I think they changed their names.
Well, that's true. It's not the mansion, it's the something. I think that's just one section of the club has changed their name, but yes. So those facilities actually, they could be on any of those industrial zoned properties along Southern Boulevard, right on the roadway, by right.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. Those are my questions, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have 2 comment cards, and then we'll go. Hold on. Commissioner Valasche, you recognize?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So do we have the authority to permit a facility like this, or are we just talking about leasing the underlying land and then some other authority would have to issue the permit for this? Because obviously, if this is a decision about siting this facility, I think we'd have a room full of those neighbors that perhaps showed up at the CAC. So this is not the ultimate decision on this, is it?
No, it's not. This is just, like I said, this is the first step. Because, our involvement so far has not been outside of the lease areas. It's been limited to just the lease and compatible uses and whether, such a facility could be there in this area. So there are other things that, whoever is the lead agency that's going to permit this thing, they have to look at, it's the throughput and what is their process, the treatment, what are the end products, the byproducts, what chemicals they use, what kind of wastewater they have. All these things would be, evaluated during the routine process, of site plan approval. So to answer your question, we are one of the agencies that will review that, along with, like I said, fire rescue, school district, and Palm Beach County traffic, roadway. So there are multiple agencies that would get involved at a later date. This is just to, just kickstart the next step of the process.
Okay. Thank you. I'd point out, I remember our discussion that we had about citing this in the EAA. One thing I learned during that is that, and this is not particularly relevant to this, but there's a lot of illegal dumping of equestrian waste that's going on out there in the EAA, which is a problem. Mm-hmm. And if we don't look at, nobody wants this facility near them, clearly. I'm sure of that. But, at some point, we have to do something about this problem. Mm-hmm. And maybe this is the right solution, maybe it isn't, but I think we should look at it seriously because that problem's not going away, it's only getting worse.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Valche. We have 2 comment cards. Okay, the first we have Jose Gomez and Abigail Gomez.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Jose Gomez. I'm the president of Wellington Agricultural Services, and we're a hauler in the Wellington and Loxahatchee area. We've been around for about 15 years. Business has been up and running for 30. And this is Abigail Gomez, my daughter and also a partner of mine, and I'm going to give it to her so she can explain our project.
Hi, good morning, everyone. So let me start off by painting the full picture of what we're addressing today. The Village of Wellington is a beautiful, flourishing community, and it's a place we all call home and must take care of. We are famous for our role in the international equestrian community. We host world-renowned events featuring equestrian show jumping, hunting, dressage, and polo. During our showtime months, more than 35,000 horses call Wellington their home. In the off-season, about 15,000 horses reside all over Palm Beach County. Our horse industry is essential to our infrastructure. However, thousands of these horses impose many environmental and health risks to our community. On average, a single horse will produce 50 pounds of waste a day. Our village alone is capable of producing more than 316,000 tons every year. We are responsible for safely and effectively managing all of this waste. This waste, if not handled correctly, can produce breeding grounds for insects and parasites, which eventually can end up in our waterways, contaminating all of the lakes and canals of Palm Beach County. Our main concern is this: how are we going to handle all of this waste in an ecologically friendly way and in a safe way for our community? Wellington Agricultural Services would like to propose a solution. We have been a premium service provider in the agricultural industry for over 30 years. We aim to deliver environmentally friendly and efficient livestock waste removal services. As one of the largest agricultural companies in the Palm Beach area, we have taken the lead in eliminating illegal dumping and potential safety hazards to our community. Our plan is to build Palm Beach County's central agricultural hub, functioning as both an indoor pellet plant and transfer station. All waste we receive will be processed and recycled into 3 sellable products: wood pellets, fertilizer pellets, and organic fertilizer compost. All 3 are ecologically friendly. Our second function as a transfer station will specialize in bulk livestock waste transport to various end users, such as JFE Compost Facility and United States Sugar. This process will allow Wellington Agricultural to reduce the manure removal costs of farms, other haulers, and the major equestrian facilities. With Wellington Agricultural's multifunctional facility in place, the county will be able to successfully handle all of the livestock waste we receive. Finally, we have a solution to the problem we've been struggling with. What do we do with all of this waste, and how do we handle it?
So basically, our facility is all going to be indoors. We're not going to have anything outside. We can set up shop next to a food processing facility, and you'll never know that we're hauling manure. All right. If you have any questions, you can feel free to ask me now. But that's basically our plan.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, I have a question.
Hold on one second. Commissioner Valche does have a question for you.
Just, sir, in terms of the CAC, I understand that they spoke primarily about odor. What is the odor control situation with this facility?
It's a completely enclosed system, so there is no smoke, there is no odor. We're basically crushing and mulching and chipping and pelletizing all the waste. So we're not burning, we're not doing anything that causes any odor. And since the entire facility is indoors, then people won't smell it.
And are there comparable facilities around the state or in the country?
There is a few. Basically, we follow the model of a normal wood pellet plant. So wood pellet plants are all over the country.
wood being the input, or
Yeah,
the
wood
out-
being the input.
Okay, well, this is slightly different since
Well-
it's horse manure
Well, horse manure, it's not just horse manure. We pick up 80%
bedding.
shavings, bedding, and then 20% manure and urine. So by the time you run that through the screens and the crushers and all that stuff, and the heating process, because it goes through a dryer, at the end of it, the manure content basically disappears.
Okay, but the reason I asked is if somebody had questions about odor, I guess they could go to another plant or read about whether there'd been complaints. And we need to have an apples to apples comparison, not with the wood chip plant. But
Yeah, well, basically, no one in the country is pelletizing horse waste. They do pelletize waste in other facilities, human waste, any other type of waste. But we would be the first to pelletize horse bedding and manure.
Okay. All right.
We've already tested the product. I've shipped it out to a pellet company to test the raw material. We've pelletized it, had lab tests done to it, and basically at the end of the pelletizing process, what we're left is a wood-burning pine pellet. The traces of manure were gone by the time it became a pellet.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll have William E. Pruitt.
Good morning. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, thank you for the opportunity to address this. I'm William E. Pruitt, 3030 South Dixie Highway, West Palm Beach, Florida. It's Pruitt and Pruitt, PA. I'm here representing one of the interested parties in this property, Horizon 880. Unfortunately, our principals were coming. We were here last month and got continued. Their flight got delayed, I think, because of weather concerns. So they're not here to answer specific questions about the process. But in short, they've developed a drying process that would take the stall residuals, which I've learned is the proper term. Wasn't what we called it when I was growing up, but anyway, they take the stall residuals and they dry it, they separate, they deal with the organic fines, and then their plan is to recycle and bag this product and resell it to the equine community here in Palm Beach County. So it'll be a recycling operation that will clean this up. Again, this is also a completely enclosed facility. Our clients would build the buildings on the property. All we're asking for here today is the opportunity with anybody else that's interested to discuss this matter with your staff, to begin the process. Certainly, you as the landlords have the first right of refusal as to whether or not you're even going to lease the property. Certainly, Road and Bridge has to be provided a suitable site for their facility and storage. But then this would all go back through the whole process. You would again have a bite at the apple or an input as one of the agencies that reviews the whole zoning process as it goes through the site plan approval and all of that. All we want to do is be able to start talking about this. We can give more information to your staff as to the process and how it works and that it is clean. I trust that it's clean. I live right across the canal from this property. So if I thought there was going to be a problem with odor, my wife would not allow me to appear here today. So you don't have to take that as testimony, only the statement from a concerned citizen. I will answer any questions you have.
Yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. With no other comment cards, now we go into discussions. Mayor McKinley, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Let me first apologize for my tardiness this morning. As many of you know, I've got 2 children at Florida State University. One of them was able to get out of town. She's in Orlando, but my son is up there. So I spent most of the morning trying to wake him up. Anyway, praying for everybody's safety in the path of this horrific storm. I want to thank staff. This was a result of a conversation that I had with Mr. Hammond and his team shortly after we had to do a 180 on the 880 project out in the Glades due to the concerns of the farmers in the EAA. We know that these types of facilities, like I mentioned earlier, can be developed on industrial zone properties by right now. The attractiveness of this property when I first talked with SWA staff was that it wasn't right on the main thoroughfare. It was kind of tucked away. There seemed to be a general consensus that moving the road and bridge operation at that time wouldn't be a big deal. There really wasn't much conversation about the use of that 17 acres. As a matter of fact, I believe I was told it wasn't really being used for much of anything. In terms of hurricane debris removal, I think it's also important to recognize that most of our municipalities have sites within their borders to stockpile hurricane debris. So I do believe that we can make that work. This is a proposal. This is something that if we agree upon it, we put out for an RFP and see what types of offers that we get. Then as staff has reiterated a few different times, it has to go through the zoning process, it has to go through the commission, then it has to come to us. Several different opportunities to hear proposals. As you remember, when the Horizon 880 project came, it was a closed loop, indoor, no odor problem in the EAA. I would assume that those restrictions of anyone who may come forward with it, now that we know there's more than one interested party, we know we have to go out for an RFP. But we can certainly make sure that the odor concerns are addressed through the zoning process. And the Village of Wellington is doing their part, but it's an unmanageable amount of equestrian waste that we're talking about here. And I'd want to make sure that the public doesn't have the perception that this is one big pile of dark brown residual.
Stall residual.
Stall residual. That's great. That's political spin there. It is mostly for those of us non-farmer, non-horse rider folks, it's hay, basically with the waste mixed into it. And so there's a great opportunity for a recyclable product that can be turned around and used again and again by the equestrian industry. It's something that we have to take care of. This is a good location. It's centrally located. And I would like the board to support moving forward with this today, not make this a NIMBY, not my backyard issue, and not put the fear of the surrounding industrial properties that this is going to be some sort of you can smell it from miles away kind of proposal. It's not. And I think it's worthwhile for us to consider exploring this further. Thank you.
Mayor McKinley would like to state that in a motion.
Yes, sir. I would like to give staff direction to, I guess, put together an RFP and explore the opportunities that this site could be used for an equestrian waste facility.
Second.
We have a motion by Mayor McKinley, seconded by Vice Chair Kerner. Further discussion, Commissioner Burdick, you recognize.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I recognize that as a solid waste authority and as a commissioner, we have to work collaboratively together to find the solution to this equestrian waste byproduct. It's unacceptable that currently they are laying that on land in our EAA, particularly given the fact that it may possibly be one of the problems with the green algae and other impacts to clean water. And clean water, clean affordable water, is vital for all of our residents, and that we all need to come to the table to look at the solutions to this. But as we move forward to look at this, that odor, when you drive 95, and the odor from the trucks from our solid waste, from our waste facilities, don't tell me that there is no odor. There is odor on the highways when we're driving by, so that needs to be addressed for the residents that live within this potential site. Because I live in the city of West Palm, and depending on the prevailing wind, I can smell our landfill. I haven't heard what Wellington is doing with regards to this issue yet, and I think that if it is in fact the majority, the speaker said 360,000 tons a year, 50 pounds per day per animal, is a lot. It's significant. And if in fact there are parasites and environmental impacts, then we need to make sure that we safeguard all of our residents with regards to this. Wellington has industrial sites. Yes, in this core area, we have industrial sites, but Wellington has them too. So the question needs to be asked, why isn't this this type of service being provided in the city where the majority of the majority of the equestrian waste is being produced? And my two concerns are Palm Beach County and our road and bridge. If they are losing another site, I don't want to negatively impact Palm Beach County government and our road and bridge and our engineering department. And secondly, I don't want to impact at all the potential with regards to storm debris. If this site is used, bring the commission alternative sites. If in fact other cities have dedicated sites, bring the commission, bring the authority those sites, and the city's commitment to having those sites in the future. We know that we have growth in Palm Beach County. Most of the growth is occurring in those eastern corridors. Our cities are wonderful places to live, but if our cities aren't going to have those sites available for the vegetative waste after a storm, it negatively impacts all of our residents. And we all know that we want our electricity turned on right after the storm. Nobody wants to wait a week or 2 weeks. And we in Palm Beach County are very, under the leadership, Mr. Hammond and our staff, we are leaders in the area of vegetative waste, so that we can get our haulers in here. They want to work with Palm Beach County, and we can get our electric, our Florida Power and Light, and our utilities back on. And it's because of your efforts, the scope of the entire plan, the sites that have been available. And if we lose a site in the North County, there will be a negative impact. And I'm concerned about that for all of our residents. So I would hope that when you bring this back, you bring a total picture, not just how we're going to move forward and take care of the equestrian waste, but the impacts to all of our residents in these other areas is vitally important. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor McKinley, you recognize?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a couple of follow-ups. I want to make it, just to clear it up, we don't have any reports of illegal dumping in the EAA, as was mentioned earlier. The equestrian use in the EAA of using manure as fertilizer instead of chemical fertilizers is something that is authorized by the Department of Agriculture, and not within our rights to, we don't have any jurisdiction over that. I'd also like to point out that when Horizon 880's project first came before us, I believe the maximum they were talking about taking was about 20% of the equestrian waste. So this certainly wasn't a facility, nor I believe is this piece of property large enough to handle everything. What we are hoping is that the facilities in Wellington will be used. This facility could be used. Hauling it up here to the waste-to-energy plant is another option. We're talking about, I hate the cliche, but another tool in the toolbox. I'd also like to point out that, again, Wellington is not the only place in this county that produces equestrian waste. The number of equestrian farms going up in Loxahatchee Groves, and the acreage is increasing because there's not as much availability in Wellington, and the price is getting too high for most horse farmers. And also, Wellington residents are also county residents, and we certainly don't stop services just because somebody lives within the border of a municipality. Thank you.
Thank you. We have a motion by Mayor McKinley, seconded by Vice Chair Kerner. All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 6-1. Next item, item 9A1.
Yes, Mr. Chair, we're bringing back proposed amendments to your rules of government. These changes reflect, I think, a desire on the part of the board to come up with rules that are similar to what you have with the county, so that therefore there's some consistency between your meetings downtown and these meetings here. Also, it reflects the change to when you make your selection of officers, so that your reorganization as the Solid Waste Authority Board coincides with when that is done downtown. So, Mr. Falcon, General Counsel, has been working on this, and I'm sure if there's any questions, he's going to be prepared to answer those.
Move approval of the rules of governance as amended.
We have a motion by Commissioner Burdick, seconded by Mayor McKinley. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Next item, item 9D1.
This is an interlocal agreement between the Solid Waste Authority and Westlake. This agreement is very similar to the agreements we have with the other, 38 other municipalities in Palm Beach County. It reflects that they're going to make deliveries to us of their solid waste and recyclable materials. Also provides for, if the recycling markets ever do turn around, a revenue share, which we have done in the past with other communities. There have been some changes, minor changes that were made to the format of this interlocal agreement. So that's why we're bringing it forward to you today. We would also ask that you consider allowing staff in the future, if new interlocal agreements, basically with the same conditions, come forward, that the executive director can go ahead and sign that without having to bring all those 39 back to the board, because primarily it's just format changes in this agreement.
Okay. Move approval with the interlocal agreement with the City of Westlake, and authorize the executive director to execute individual interlocal agreements with municipalities substantially in this form.
We have a motion by Commissioner Burdick, seconded by Vice Chair Kerner. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously 7-0. Next item, item 9E1.
Item 91 is to authorize the executive director to execute amendment number 4 to the biosolids processing facility O&M agreement between NEFCO and the authority, in accordance with the same terms and conditions as before, subject to legal sufficiency review. New England Fertilizer Company, NEFCO, is the operator of this biosolids facility since 2009. And there are 6 partners that deliver biosolids to the authority. Seacoast deliveries are the authority's responsibility, and it's about 12%. So the 88% of the deliveries come from other 5 partners: Boca, Loxahatchee, Seacoast, ECR, and South Central Regional. This agreement expires August of next year, and we have to give them a 9-month notification. So it's up for renewal. They have 2 extensions allowed in their contract, 2 5 years, and this would be the first of the 5-year extension under the same terms and conditions.
Can I get a motion?
So moved.
We have a motion by Commissioner Burdick, seconded by Commissioner Berger. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously 7-0. Comments by the General Counsel?
No comments.
Staff?
Yeah, I'd just like to make a couple. First, I'd just like to say it's been a pleasure and a privilege to be able to serve the community for the past 35 years. When I got here in 1983, literally there were only 2 smoking landfills, smoldering landfills, and 2 transfer stations. And over that period of time, I was blessed to be able to participate and work at building an integrated system here that today is state-of-the-art and known throughout the country. The system we have today is reliable, it's fiscally sound, it's cost-effective, and environmentally responsible. And again, I just feel blessed to have been part of the team of such a hardworking, dedicated staff that really has made this all possible. And they're all overachievers, every one of them. And clearly, the employees at the authority are your greatest asset. Always remember that. Without them, this doesn't work. I think that our goal has always been to make sure that there weren't problems. If you received calls or concerns, our job was to take care of them as quickly as possible. And we've always maintained that customer service is one of the most important things that we do here. I'd like to thank my wife, too, of 41 years. It's funny because when we would go on vacations, my wife and kids, we'd always know where the landfills were. It's like, Dad, we know that's a landfill. You don't have to point that out. But, solid waste has always been a part of my life. And I don't believe that, after November 30th, I'm going to walk away from it for sure. But I'm truly going to miss the camaraderie, the folks here. It's just been something that has juiced me up for 45 plus years as I've been in the industry. And again, my thanks to the staff because, they're the ones that make this thing work. Mm-hmm. And, I want to thank the board. I want to say that over the years, you've been very supportive of me, the other executive directors and staff. And it's really helped to know that, the board has really been supportive of what we do here. So with that, thank you, and I'll see you the last time, November 20th.
Okay. Comments by the board. Commissioner Burdick.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, Mr. Hammond and Deborah, thank you very much for supporting him over all of these years. And Mr. Hammond, you're right. It's always about the staff, the people that work with you, for you, that make a difference. And they have certainly made a difference. Palm Beach County's Solid Waste Authority is not only nationally recognized, but internationally recognized for the progressive waste system that we have. And you are all to be congratulated. And not only recognized, but we have a AAA bond rating, which is significant in these times to acknowledge. And I want to thank you very much. This is my last meeting along with Commissioner Abrams, and you have been wonderful in responding to the residents in Palm Beach County. So thank you all very much. Wish you great health and success in the future. Thank you.
Commissioner Abrams?
Well, Mr. Chairman, I had a full critique of Mr. Hammond's performance, but his wife is here, so I won't go into that. I'm sure she has her own critique. But I want to certainly thank Mr. Hammond for many years of service here at the Solid Waste Authority. This is a difficult entity to run in that we want it to run like a business. It is a business, but it is also a business that provides a very vital public service. So there is a balance that always has to be maintained, and you and the staff have maintained that very well over the years. So job well done. As Commissioner Burdick mentioned, it's also my last meeting, and so I also want to express my personal appreciation to the staff. As long as we're going down memory lane a little, you mentioned 1983. I came to Palm Beach County in 1985, and one of my first, I just graduated from law school, had taken the bar, hadn't even heard back yet as to whether I'd passed, and was working for a law firm in Boca Raton. And one of my first clients was one of the companies that bid on the first waste-to-energy plant. And at that time, you'll recall that the Solid Waste Authority was comprised of appointees by the Board of County Commissioners. And so one of the SWA members was the mayor of Boca Raton at the time. So they had engaged our firm because the senior partner had close political ties with the then mayor. And so they sort of had me tag along. I got to meet with the mayor in his office in Boca Raton and thought, I like this office. But then we went to visit the staff at the Solid Waste Authority back when we were over at that office building at Okeechobee.
Okeechobee, yeah.
And all I remember about that is that the chairs in the waiting area were trash cans.
That's correct.
Who works here? But, to come full circle, be a member of the Solid Waste Authority, actually be lobbied myself when we went to obviously approve the second waste-to-energy facility, had come full circle. At one point, we claimed, and maybe we still are, the biggest producer of renewable energy of any county in the country other than where the Tennessee Valley Authority is located in the Hoover Dam. And I think that clearly we have that distinction of, as the largest county geographically east of the Mississippi and south of Montreal, to have to process all of our residents' waste and do it very efficiently. So as I leave, I see that we're going to be in good hands with our new leader, Mr. Pelowitz, and look, for very good things ahead in the SWA's future. And I will certainly remember all of you twice a week when I'm taking my trash out to the Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Vallish, recognized.
Thanks. Mark, we have a number of really good organizations here in Palm Beach County, but by far, you've built the best one. And I say that without trying to butter you up. I have no reason to do that. But, from the first day I came out here, right after I got elected and met the staff and you, I've been nothing but impressed. The new waste-to-energy facility came online during that period. I think you managed that. You and the staff managed that process in an unbelievably professional way. I think we are proud to have that facility here. People come from all around the world to visit it. So that's just one example of the many things that you and your staff have done so well. And I really look forward to your monthly briefings coming in the office. We talk about things other than waste, and I think we've had a great relationship, and I'm going to miss you. I know Dan's going to do a great job, but I will miss you, and I think you've done a phenomenal job, so congratulations.
Mayor McKinley?
I just want to say that you are far more fun to sit next to than Howard. It's been great. You've kept me on track this year. Let me start off, Commissioner Burdick and Commissioner Abrams. You all have been, and we'll save most of the comments for the November meeting, but it's been fun talking trash with you for the last 4 years, and we'll certainly miss your service here. Mr. Hammond, you are retiring at the end of what has been a really tough year. I think the way that you ushered in the diversity study and helped us get that wrapped up under Chairman Bernard's leadership was very, very professional, and certainly appreciate everything that you had to do. And I can remember when Brad Merriman was getting close, he had this clock on his phone, and anytime things got difficult, he would hold it up, and it was a countdown clock. Never knew what your countdown was, and know that you will be working to the very, very last minute here, and I wish you nothing but joy and happiness as you retire and get to spend more time being a grandfather. And hopefully you won't do to my stepmother what my father has done. She said, I married you for life, not for lunch. So just because you're retired, I'm not your new entertainment. So hopefully you don't drive her crazy. And but you've been excellent to work with, and certainly going to miss your leadership. So thank you for everything.
Commissioner Berger?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, my remarks are just a little bit more personal. I've known Mark and Deborah for many years, socially and professionally, and Mark's wife, Deborah, worked with my husband at St. Mary's Hospital for many years, and the four of us formed a friendship and had many pleasant happy hours over these years. I also got to know the staff on a more personal level through Mark and Deborah, so it's just a little bit more personal for me to see Mark leave the dais and move on. However, knowing them the way I do, I know they love to travel. I know they love to relax. I know they love their grandchildren and their children, and I know that they see a long and happy future together as retirees. So congratulations to both of you, because I know you retired not too long ago, to both of you, and I hope we keep those happy hours going. Thank you.
Vice Chair Kerner?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. There's not really much that I can say that my colleagues haven't already very eloquently stated, except to say that for those of us that serve as county commissioner, we come into this organization as leaders, but also as lay people. And I've had the opportunity to ask a litany of questions over the last 2 years, and you've taken the time to very effectively mentor me and teach me the business of waste management. And I've learned a lot, and it's been a really good experience for me. And I know that you've done that with every county commissioner that's come through, and it means a lot to us. So thank you, Mark, for your leadership and to the great work that your staff does. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mark, I just want to say thank you very much for your years of service to the Solid Waste Authority, over 35 years. Deborah, I want to thank you for lending us Mark for those years. I want to thank staff for your hard work and your hard efforts. And I think this will be like my last regular meeting presiding as the chair, so the tears that you see are tears of joy. But I look forward to, to the new chair and the new leadership of the Solid Waste Authority. And finally, since our neighbors, in the Panhandle are bracing for Hurricane Michael, what we urge is for some of our residents to continue to keep them in your prayers. Thank you very much. Our meeting dates are Tuesday, November 20th, which will be our special meeting which is time certain at 11:15 a.m. And then we'll have a meeting on Wednesday, December 12th, 2018 at 9 a.m. With no further items to discuss, meeting is adjourned.